Howdy folks, it's Donnie once again, and we are continuing our series of videos about Linux user management via the command line. We've already looked at video 1, which dealt with the configuration files that are common to all Linux distros, and video 2, which deals with creating user accounts the Red Hat way. In this video, we will look at how to create user accounts the non-Red Hat way. Now, if you remember from the previous video, when we looked at the Red Hat way of doing business, we said that all we needed to do on Red Hat systems to create a user account is just to do sudo user add followed by the username. And that does everything. It creates a mails pool, it creates the user's home directory, and it locks the user's home directory down so that nobody else can get into it. And it also assigns the person the bash shell as the default. Well, with non-Red Hat systems, things aren't quite that simple because we don't have all of these defaults set up on non-Red Hat systems. So, for example, here on this Debian system, what I would need to do would be to come back here and do a -m to create a home directory, and a -d followed by home /frank to specify the home directory. Then I would have to do a -s bin bash to assign Frank the bash shell as the default shell. Okay, so we have Frank's account created, and we can go into the /home directory, and we can look, and we can see that Frank's home directory is wide open for anybody to get into, and, well, so is mine. So that's not good. That's not really good security. I don't like that. So we would want to change that naturally. Now, each person, of course, can go ahead and change his or her own home directory so that everybody else will be locked out. Just do a chmod 700. And I'll just do it on my own. So now nobody else but me can get in there. But it would be nice if we could make it so that this would be the default behavior. So we're here now in the etc directory, and we're going to look in the login.defs file, which is the same file that we looked at on our Red Hat machine. So let's go ahead on in here and take a look at this. And we can just go on down until we see the UMask line. There we go. So there's our UMask line right here. And what we can do is just change that to a 077. And that way, the next time we create a user account, then that user account's home directory will be locked down so that nobody except for the owner of it will be able to get into it. Now, for the user add utility to create a user's home directory as you're creating the account, this create home yes line has to be here. That is in the login.defs file in Red Hat systems, but on non-Red Hat systems, that line is not there at all. So I just edited that file, and you can see I put the comment line in there that it was added by me. So we have create home yes, and we can save that now that we've made those two changes. And then we're going to go into the etc default directory, and in there we have a user add configuration file, which is set up pretty much the same way as it was on the Red Hat systems that we saw. So we can go into there, and by default it is set up to use the bin sh shell. However, I'd like to change that to bin bash. And now I'll go down to the bottom And I will uncomment this line about create mail spool equals yes. And I will save that. So now with those few simple edits, 2 edits to the login.defs file and 1 edit to this, or excuse me, 2 edits to this user add file, I have just made this so this Debian system will now emulate a Red Hat system when I use the user add utility. So now I can just go ahead and go user add Maggie, like so. And so Maggie's directory is there, and she has the proper permissions on it. And then, of course, I just go ahead and do the pass wd to assign her a password, just like before. So now we can just go ahead and test this out. And she's in. Now the method I just showed you about editing that user add file in the etc default directory and the login.defs file in the etc directory should work on any non-Red Hat system if you want to make the user add utility on those systems emulate the way that the user add works on Red Hat systems. But on Debian and Ubuntu systems and anything derived from them, there's another utility that these other non-Red Hat distros don't have, and that one's called add user. So we can just do add user, and let's add Lionel this time. And you see that this is an interactive utility, and it already is set up to create Lionel's home directory, and it prompts you to enter a password for Lionel. And then we can enter contact information for Lionel if we want to. And yeah, I'll just go ahead and do that. Let's do Lionel, Tomcat, room number. Well, he hangs out in my living room a lot of times. So, I don't know, let's just say it's 001. Work phone, 555-5555. Home phone, 555-5556. And other, no, we don't have other. And is this information correct? Well, yes. And of course, all that contact information is optional. We could have just left it blank if we'd wanted to. It would not have hurt anything. But anyway, we now have Lionel's account created. Now you notice one thing here that is rather unusual. We have this error message saying that the home directory for Lionel already exists, so we're not copying anything from the etc scale directory into it. Okay, well, why is that? Well, and also, why is it that when we look at the home directory that got created over here, we have it set correctly to 700 permissions? Well, interesting, huh? Well, that's because if we go into the etc directory and we open up our login.defs, and we'll go down here and we will disable this line for creating a home directory. We'll just go ahead and comment that out. That's the one that I put in there. And now let's go ahead and make an account for Caitlin. So this time, with that line commented out, the add user is creating Caitlin's home directory okay. So what happened the last time is that the add user read that login.defs file, it created the home directory from there, and then it tried to create the home directory again and was not able to do it. And this time I'm not going to enter the contact information. And we see now that Caitlin's home directory did get created, but the permissions are at 755, which is not what we want. So to fix that, we're going to go into the etc directory, and there is another configuration file in here called the adduser.conf. So we'll just go ahead and edit that. And the adduser.conf takes the place of both that user add file and the login.defs that normally get used by the user add utility. So we have everything in here. It's already set up by default to use the bin bash shell and to create home directories. But the only thing in here that we really need to change is just the directory permissions. So here, instead of using a umask, it just has you specify the actual permission setting that you want on the home directories. So we'll change that from 0755 to 0700. And we'll save it. So now, and let's say Charlie. He's my other Siamese kitty. And again, we can go without the contact information. And so there is Charlie. And you see now we have the correct permission settings. So remember, the user add file that's in the etc default directory and the login.defs file that's in the etc directory go along with the user add utility. But to configure the add user utility, use the adduser.conf file. So might be a bit confusing, but that's just the way it is. But anyway, so what I've just shown you with the add user utility, remember that is unique to Debian and Ubuntu systems. For all the other non-Red Hat systems, you have to use user add, and if you want to get the defaults correct, just go ahead and configure the files as I showed you, and you should be good. Okay? So anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. In the next video, we'll look at other user management utilities that are common to all Linux distros. And also, before we go, I need to point out, in the comment section below, there is a link to my Begin Linux Guru bookstore. So if you need Linux books, be sure to check it out. It's an Amazon affiliate link, so you won't go wrong by buying through it. So that's pretty much all I have for now. If you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.